The following is a recording of my conversation with Nathan, the founder of MetaSignals, which has their NFT mint going on right now. And I should let you know that I am an advisor and also an investor in this project because, well, I actually believe in it, especially after seeing the results. Of course, you can check these out for yourself in the link in the description below. And without further ado, here is the recording. Why don't you, why don't I just bring over an example of this? Because I think this would make a little bit more sense, as people do see it in front of their faces. And really, I think that's kind of the biggest thing that we could do on a video like this is just show people, what it is, as I think most people would kind of, very quickly grasp the value of it. But basically, it's just like this, it gives you this card, very easy to read, and it says, hey, here are the likely areas of interest. Here's, if you want to copy our risk management, you can. Of course, all of these things, you can choose your own as well, but it gives you an idea. At least it gives you an idea that you can also base something off around of. But of course, on its own, I mean, I've been watching it for quite some time now. The results speak for themselves. I mean, they've been pretty damn good. In fact, I've been a little bit on edge on Twitter just because so many of these setups have been working out, especially recently, that I'm like, all right, just remember, like, there's gonna be failures. Like, don't get too carried away with this just yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see when they play out. Like what we're looking at now was Tron on the 30-minute yesterday. I'll walk you through it, but it's great to see when it plays out basically perfectly. They don't all play out like this.
It's about right? As good as it gets right there.
Yeah, this pretty much nailed it. But you can see the alert triggered on the vertical line here. Let me get that back. The close of this candle, right? And then it was telling you basically go check out this chart. That's what we hope people do with this. Go check out this chart. If you had just aped in this case, it worked out pretty well for you. It calculates a stop loss, which is meaningful. It's not just one of these 3% down, 6% up things, which I find extremely lazy, and I wouldn't have come to you in the first place if that's what I was working with. So it goes through over 100 different values and decides which is the best value for that stop loss. I'll show you on another chart. We recommend that you don't exit without a close below the stop loss value. I'll show you why on another chart in a moment. This one, basically, if you had aped it immediately, you see we go up and we take out TP1, TP2 very quickly, and then it basically nails TP3. They don't all look like this, but when they do, it's beautiful. For the people who feel like, we've got 800 very enthusiastic, positive people in the Discord. Thank you to everyone who participates. For the people who come, maybe they were asleep during this time, right? And they come upon it after TP3 has been hit. There's often a secondary trade to take. In this case, you can see it here where after you took out TP3, you come back down, you actually wick what was TP2, you remain above the EMA 21 in yellow, and then you roll straight back up to your prior TP3 and a little bit more. Later, you crash back all the way down. That's why we take the profit. That was yesterday. That was 5RR. Again, they're not all like this. Plenty. I mean, if we say that we have a 70% win rate on something with an average RR of 1, so $100 risked for $100 made, that still means that 30% of the time you're losing. And I think some people understand that intellectually, and then when they receive an alert or two that are losers, they immediately, the emotion kicks in, Yeah. Why did that alert fire? Why? Yeah, okay. If you're winning 70% of the time, you're losing 30% of the time. So that's why you've got to manage risk. If you manage your risk, you can stay in the game long enough to benefit from the edge that's being offered. If you want to risk 20, 30, 40% of your account on a single trade, things are going to really need to go your way to
You're going to be
stay in the
multiplying
game.
by zero real fucking fast at that
Yeah,
point.
eventually you're going to go to zero, right? So you
Yeah.
got to manage your risk. That's the one thing that I want to point out again and again.
Well, that's, I mean, I think you just kind of nailed it right there. It's like, look, the kind of person that is going to do well with this sort of a service is someone who's more long-term minded. You know, if you're thinking like years down the road and thousands of trades during that time, okay, statistics like 70-30 sound really fucking good. But if you treat that on just a singular iteration basis, then you can really start to fuck yourself up, because you're not going to be around for those years if you blow it all in the first few, which, you know, it could very well be that you get 3 losers in a row. Very possible, right? But if you extrapolate that out to 1,000 trades, okay, then those statistics, like, it should be around there. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I like the analogy of blackjack. So card counters in blackjack, who it's a rare person who even has the skill, who can count cards in blackjack and know when the count is in their favor and chip up accordingly, if they can even get away with it, because the casinos are watching them and they're watching the position size, the bet size. So, but it's very similar to card counters in blackjack, where you, even a card counter who imagine a Rain Man level card counter, the edge is in his favor. It doesn't mean he's going to win the next hand. I mean, the night might go down as a losing night. It doesn't mean, just because the edge is in your favor doesn't mean you're instantly rich. And that's one point that I just want to hammer home to those who are on the fence, and even those who are in the Discord already and active members. The edge will play out over time. You know, just like if you did manage to count cards in a casino and they didn't catch you, you would win over time. That's the concept here.
I think a really good point to kind of maybe address right now would be, you know, someone who's maybe skeptical and they're thinking in their mind like, okay, great, like these guys, they have, or MetaSignals has this system. Why wouldn't they just trade this themselves, and why even bother sharing it with other people? Like, what would you kind of say to someone like that, who's, you know, basically implying like why, you know, or nefarious intentions?
Oh, it's a fair question. And before I reached out to you, I think I probably reached out to 100+ VCs.
Yeah.
And they all have the same response. No offense to the VCs. I'm sure there's some good people out there, but it's very easy to be skeptical. It's harder to actually take the time to understand something. So it's easy to say, if you had a system that wins more than it loses over time, you would just take $10 million and you would trade your system and you would keep it secret. Yeah, okay. So then you tell that person, great, would you like to deposit $10 million into an account and we'll start doing that? And they say, no, I need to see it all working first. So that's that's the first thing.
Yeah.
We have to prove that it works over time. And at the same time, I'm not ashamed to admit, I and many other people lost nearly everything when FTX went under. So up until the FTX fiasco, I was on the fence as to, am I going to share this? Am I going to just trade privately? What do we do? Because even if FTX hadn't gone under and we were fully funded and there, you know, we could have just continued on under our own resources. It seems kind of fun to share it. I don't see a problem with sharing it while also trading our own funds.
Well, of course, and then it also helps development as well. I mean, that's extra, you know, that's extra money coming in to fund that.
Right. It helps development, and it helps to, there's many people on the sidelines right now, I think you know some of them, who are basically just watching and waiting to see, okay, let's see how this goes over time, because it's easy for me to come on and say, we have this strategy has a 70% win rate and look at this trade from yesterday. But in reality, the bigger money that would be traded wants to see a track record, and fair enough. So, but when the FTX fiasco happened, we basically decided, okay, we're going to need to make this. Let's proceed with the plan where we make this public, and that will, the revenue can generate development. It's not cheap to do any of this. Yeah, so I don't want to say that that forced our hand, but that made our decision a little bit easier. Once I was personally nearly knocked out completely after a couple of days lying on the sofa staring at the ceiling, wondering what to do next.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were doing that at that time, or at least at some point in their life, they felt the exact same way. And you can kind of understand, okay, that's.
Yeah, can I just share one or two more alerts, and then
yeah, 100%.
Then the roadmap will make a little bit more sense. So another one that's a little bit more of what we see was Link that happened over last weekend. Link on the 2-hour. The algos caught the setup, and typically you don't need to ape right in. Typically you have plenty of time to spot your entry. And then again, this nailed it in terms of getting you out at basically the local top there. And it would have been really easy to, after there was a very strong weekly close here, right? So it would have been very easy to have gotten caught up in the enthusiasm.
Hold it for the moonshot.
Yeah, that's it. Like, we're going straight to 27, you know, because the weekly closed above the 2 or 3 months of consolidation, right? So it would have been very easy to just tell yourself, that's it. I'm going to hold this for 25, 27, 38. Let's go. But again, the algos are telling you, hey, maybe consider taking your 3.38 RR and looking for your next entry, you know.
That's also, I think, a really understated piece of value of this whole service is that it kind of gives you a pretty damn good idea of, okay, am I being too fucking greedy right now or not? And thinking of, you know, a continuation from that. And of course, some will continue, you know, exactly from there as well. But again, you're playing the game of probability. It's like, okay, we've hit target 3. You're probably at least in for consolidation. And as you showed before, you're probably at least going to come down to the second take profit area anyways. So there's not really like that sort of FOMO mentality, or at least it helps with that FOMO mentality of like, I need to hold this because this is the move that never looks back and just continues upwards and onwards, which honestly very, 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 very rarely happens.
Right. Psychologically, you feel like it's going to happen every time.
Yeah.
And in reality, it rarely happens. I can show you another one here from, show you this last one from Avalanche. Where's my card? Sorry. All right. So here's another one where you didn't have much time to get your entry. If you're looking for a better entry, you probably missed it. And this was a 3-hour for Avalanche. So it basically just shot straight up, took out TP1, then TP2, and then wick TP3. But I always miss it. Whenever I go for the better entry, it ends up just rocketing, you know. Okay. There's often, especially on 3-hour and higher, the initial signal is often a sign of things to come. So this is why we recommend that the people who use meta signals have a little bit of technical analysis skills, because here, say you just missed this alert completely, you were asleep, whatever. Okay. Then, I mean, especially on this candle here, magenta is SMA 9, yellow is EMA 21. So especially once you got this big candle breaking above the prior highs, SMA 9 above EMA 21, both angled to the upside. And then if you're familiar with the jewel, you have a secondary jewel signal here, blue, pink, yellow, all rising, supported by DMI. Basically, there's a whole nother trade here that wasn't found by the alerts. But if you're able to keep an eye on it, I mean, it provided something, you know, significant. Even if you had just aped in at the moment of this candle here, right? There was a lot awaiting you. So that's another way that the alerts can really be, they can be turned into your own if you're patient enough to study the chart and check back in with it after the initial move plays out, if that makes sense. You still hear me there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here, man.
Okay.
I'm just watching.
Okay. Maybe we edit that out there.
No, we got to leave it in for the transparency. But
It's
yeah,
real. It's real.
no, I think that's a great example right there, because you've seen now a few different examples, and it's always different in the way that they kind of play out, right? So you kind of start to get an idea once you've seen these over and over and over again. You really start to like assuage those fears of, again, just kind of jumping into something immediately. And you just kind of realize, okay, look, like if I get an entry in somewhere in that red zone, it's probably going to be okay. I might be in the prior example with Link, you would have been waiting for like a day before it even moved to the upside. In this case, it moves, right immediately there. And you just start to realize that you never know on a singular trade by trade basis, like how exactly it's going to go. It just does its thing. But when you have some sort of a tool like this, some sort of a service like this, you can just trust that, okay, over time, it moves in that direction. And that's what I'm looking for. And it doesn't need to be anything more, really complicated than that. Sure, you can start to, optimize, little things here and there, but this just kind of gives you on like a silver platter, just that sort of, okay, here you go, do with it as you, do with it as you will. And it gives you a really good base to work off of, is what I'm trying to say. It gives you that base, and from there, yeah, maybe you can maybe you can optimize a few things here and there, but you got like the meat of it already.
Correct. And then one other quick example. This was EOS 1 hour. So in the Discord, we have data for what does your P&L look like if you exit on a touch of the stop loss versus a close below. And close below, even though you take larger individual losses over time, the P&L is far better if you don't exit with these wicks, which is that's crypto, right? So this is a very good example where you got the alert, immediately you wick the stop loss, but it's a winning trade. If you had said, no, I want a close below. And we're actually working with a third-party team right now to allow people to place trades with this logic intact. So you'll be able to place your trade and say, I'll exit this EOS if there's a 1 hour close below 0.687.
Yeah.
And if there's not, I'll stay in it. And then we'll also be able to place an emergency stop loss just in case it all goes to zero. You won't lose it all. So that's coming in the next couple of weeks, actually.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a pretty obvious area to optimize things. And even from there, you could just have, like, for that emergency stop loss, you could just have a stop loss by percentage. It's like, because I know that you already have the stats on this, but like, let's say that the average stop loss is around here, you could just maybe double that. Just take it out much further and be like, hey, all right, if things just get to this level, I'm just taking the loss. Something weird has gone on. Maybe a black swan. Who the hell knows? But I just want to be out. Just do it by percentage.
Yeah, we have a lot of data in the Discord that people can go through and kind of draw their own conclusions. We want this to kind of be a guide. There's no perfect way to trade each alert, right?
Yeah. And I think
it's going to be different each time.
I think that's also an understated portion of the value of the service, is that you actually get access to a lot of those metrics. And so you can actually parse through it yourself. And as you get more comfortable with things, you naturally will. And, that's again, somewhere where, you'll find that extra value of like what you're actually looking at, not just the cookie cutter setups in and of themselves, but you actually get the data, you get those statistics.
For sure.